But anyways, let's just get our acceleration here. Wow. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be going over the all-new Nissan Maxima. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray, Utah for me some time with this Maxima. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Jeff. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that's paired to an Xtronic CVT. Power figures are 300 horsepower and 261 pound-feet of torque, with fuel economy being 20 around town and then 30 on the highway. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Starting with the hood, you guys can see here that it's, well, pretty much just flat there in the center, and then you do have some distinctive lines off to either side. And then coming down below, you guys can see there with the daytime running lights, those look pretty cool with the LED headlights as well. And then we do have the fog lights off to either side with the new style Nissan logo front and center. And then notice how everything in the center is actually blacked out, which looks pretty good. And putting it all together, I definitely like the new front end of the Maxima. Coming on the side here, tire wheel setup is 245, 40, 19 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see, as for the design, the wheel is all blacked out, which kind of goes with the overall theme of this car. You'll notice that the mirrors are also blacked out, and then you got the pillar there in the front also blacked out. And then we do have a big sunroof situation, but notice that the rest of the roof that's not the sunroof also blacked out. And then here's your full side view on the Maxima. Now there is that one like piece of chrome trim, which is kind of random, but again, I do think the side like profile is really cool looking, especially with that little like line that goes through. So here's our key fob. You guys can see the Nissan logo there on the front. We've got our remote start function, we have our lock function or unlock function, and the opening for the trunk. Now popping inside of the trunk, first off, you guys will notice that we have plenty of storage space here in the rear, and that's one of the big benefits of the Maxima, is it's just super spacious. And then when you're all done, just plop. Pretty cool looking taillights here on the Maxima, and then you guys can see all of the badges. Look at the black spoiler as well. Again, new Nissan badge there, of course. And then we've got parking sensors here at the bottom, and then look how cool the covers are for the exhaust tips. And then you got this neat diffuser at the bottom too. And then putting it all together, I definitely think that the new Maxima is a handsome, sporty looking car. Now popping over the door panel, notice that we've got some cool orange stitching here at the top, and then pretty much all of the door panel itself is covered in padding, which is nice. Again, more of that orange stitching, and yeah, I think it looks great. Now popping over to the seats, you guys can see again that orange stitching continues, and this is where things get exciting. Notice that it is perforated there, and then you guys can see the orange inside. That is another cool look. And then again, you can see all of the orange stitching, so good job, Nissan. Legroom here in the back is actually pretty solid. We've got a little storage pocket here. We've got some vents in the rear, and then you guys can see the USBs down below. And then of course it has a cup holder armrest. And then headroom back here is also pretty good. Now here's our front door panel. You guys can see again with the stitching here and then all of the padding down below. We do have our memory seat functionality. Window controls, they are automatic for the front. And then you guys can see the mirror adjustments and then the mirrors right here, which, yeah, pretty cool look there. But there's the front door panel. Now here are the front seats. They have that same fancy design as the rear seats, so you can see there in the center. And then there's the power adjustments, and then of course Maxima logo. Pretty fancy looking pedals here, and then you guys can see here for the heated steering wheel, that's for the safety tech to open up the trunk as well. So here is the steering wheel to the Maxima, and it is pretty funky. You guys can see with the trim, it's just like the seats. So yeah, you've got like the Alcantara here in the center, and then the orange stitching. And then it does have practical stuff like adaptive cruise control. You got your volume controls, all that. But things get really interesting when you turn the steering wheel, because then you realize column-mounted paddle shifters, just like the GTR. So the GTR is discontinued at this point, so I'm pretty sure that Nissan was like, what are we gonna do with all these leftover GTR paddle shifters? And then one of the executives is probably like, let's just throw it on the Maxima. And then they're like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. It's the Rick and Morty meme. Anyways, you got your light stock and then your windshield wiper stock behind the pedals. Now here is the gauge cluster. You guys can see it's kind of like a mix between analog, and you obviously have that screen there in the center, which you can scroll through some different menus, see different bits of info on the Maxima. You know, pretty standard stuff overall. Now it is cool is we do have a sport mode, which, yeah, you press it and then it gives you that little animation there in the center. I don't know, I think it's nice. Now in reverse, you guys can see the Maxima comes with Nissan's 360 camera system. So you've got the bird's eye view, and then you have trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel for the actual rear camera view. And then if I press the camera button, there we go, you can see you've got the front camera as well. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, shortcut buttons here all around. So like you can just press these buttons here on the side. So like if I want to go to the map, I guess we can press that. And you know, overall functionality is pretty solid. Response time is also pretty good as well. So good job. Dual zone climate controls just down below, automatic as well, pretty standard stuff. And then you guys saw the stop start button earlier, and then we have like this little cover right here for, I guess, what we'll call our charging area. And then you guys can see the shifter for that X-tronic transmission is what Nissan calls it. It's their new CVT. Got a couple of cup holders here, and then we have heated and cooled seats here in the Maxima. And then this is the analog control for the infotainment system if you don't want to use a touchscreen. Stability control button right next to the sport mode button. And then, yeah, really nice trim here. Again, with that orange stitching, it definitely breaks up the interior. And then decent storage space in the center console. And it's got a glove box. Now again, you've got more of that nice padding and orange stitching all throughout. And then look at the trim here. That's cool. Now up top here, I have controls for the sunroofs. Yes, you heard me right, sunroof. So we have one for the front, and then we have a sunroof for the back passengers too. So here's a window sticker for this 2023 Maxima SR, and then you guys can see, seriously, it just says X-tronic transmission with manual shift mode. They're really trying to sell this, but anyways, all of the standard equipment on this, you can see the base MSRP $43,300, and then after all options, the stickers for $46,205. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors. You have blind spots, that little thing right there. And then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we are setting off here in the Maxima, and I honestly don't know if I've ever reviewed one of these on the channel. Like, I can't remember. But what I will say so far, and man, that person was like going through fast. I thought they were about to hit me. Ride quality is really good with the Maxima. Such a comfortable car. Seat comfort's also really good as well. And these seats seem to stay pretty neutral temperature wise, but that doesn't really matter because they're heated and cooled. So even if they didn't, then boom, just turn on your heated or cooled function depending on what you need. And I really like the feeling of the steering wheel. It actually, like, just holding it feels really good. And again, you got to remember this is kind of, I mean, it definitely doesn't have economy car price, but you know, that's kind of what this is going for, is more like an economy luxury car. That's kind of what the Maxima is, similar to like the, you know, what the Toyota Avalon was as well. And honestly, you know, you can tell it's a CVT. It's pretty responsive though overall, but it still does the kind of like CVT thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. But we'll see with the paddles. I have noticed with Nissan's other vehicles with this X-tronic CVT, they're actually pretty responsive and, you know, surprisingly fun to drive, especially when you compare it to like a CVT in a Subaru, for example. So pretty impressive. We'll see. Actually, I'll pop it in sport mode now. See if that makes the transmission respond any differently in automatic mode. See how it does over the train tracks here. And by the way, if you hear any rattling in the video, it's my tripod here, not the car. It's a rattly thing. Half my stuff is broken right now. My GoPro broken. My camera broken, just broke it. And then the tripod also broken. Yeah, go figure. Ben Hardy's on a budget. But yeah, it did really good over both of the train tracks. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah, I really like how this drives. It actually, like, this drives really well. Okay, so continuing along in the Maxima, I'm actually gonna pop it into the manual mode. Obviously it doesn't have actual gears, it just kind of mimics a manual mode. Yeah, just like other Nissans, it seems like the paddles are actually pretty responsive. It does, yeah, it does take a second when you're going at lower speeds. That's still pretty good. Yeah, again, being a CVT, it always kind of, you know, the RPMs can kind of go all over the place. That's just the nature of the beast. And that's why, you know, but anyways, let's just get our acceleration here. Wow. Pretty dang good, honestly. Again, you can still tell it's a CVT, that's for sure. even like full throttle. It's relatively responsive. I feel like this this Xtronic CVT does best with turbocharged engines. I don't know why that is, but it seems like it just does best with turbocharged engines. So summing things up here with the Maxima, I think this thing looks great. I love the interior, especially considering the segment that this is in. It drives really well. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good car overall. I'm actually pretty impressed. Now, the only thing that I'd have to say is, and I say this in a lot of these Nissan reviews, is, you know, I really do like their new CVT, their Xtronic CVTs. It's a really good CVT, but it's still a CVT. And I think that, you know, it's misplaced in certain vehicles. Like, this is an example. I think that CVT is fine in like the Nissan Rogue, for example, because, you know, when you're in a smaller vehicle, it makes sense to be optimizing for fuel economy. But like something like this, you know, fuel economy is important, but it's not the most important thing. I think that someone that buys this would rather have a little bit more performance, if that makes sense. So I think that in this, and then like the Murano as well, they should have the 9-speed automatic. They shouldn't have the Xtronic CVT. But let me know what you guys think about this new Maxima overall. Really solid offering. But I mean, as you guys can, well, I'll drive over here so you can tell. As you guys can tell in a second, this ultimately is not going to be a huge volume seller for Nissan. It'll still be the Altima. And that's another, like the Altima makes sense with the CVT. So yeah, you can see Altima, wait for it, Sentra, Altima, wait for it, Altima, and this is the only Maxima. So like, yeah, it's not going to be a huge volume car for Nissan, but let me know what you guys think about it either way. That's just something's up with our video on this Maxima. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with this Maxima. Check out the inventory in the description down below. Ask for Jeff if you have any questions. I'll see ya.